So, like, you would sleep with a girl? Like, go down there? Ew, that's disgusting! So, why don't you just have the real thing if you're having a plastic one anyway? Like, what's the difference? You don't, like, have a crush on me, though, right? Like, you're not, like, weirdly into me or anything like that. So, like, how did your parents react? Were they, like, really extremely, incredibly disappointed in you?
Your shirt strap fell.
Why are you looking? You definitely have a crush on me, don't you? Please, I'm not an object. You can't just look at me like this now that you're gay. I'm sure you just haven't met the right guy yet. He's definitely out there for you with a penis.
What is a lesbian? Defined by Oxford Dictionary, a woman who is sexually or romantically attracted exclusively to other women. A gay woman. This has never been a source of confusion, as the term has been used to refer to homosexual relations between women since the days of ancient Greece, wherein Sappho of Lesbos wrote poetry denoting her erotic attraction to other women. In the past 200 years, there has been far less legislation, far less documentation on lesbianism. Part of this lies in the impact of misogyny in the lives of women. There was no need to outlaw lesbianism when the domestic sphere kept women apart, when women were legally unable to work or own property and were entirely dependent on men for survival. There was no room for independence and therefore no room for deviation from the norm. On the other hand, gay males were able to be bachelors and could remain unmarried. They had economic and social freedom, and therefore extra laws were needed to target male homosexuality. The terms carpet muncher, dyke, and lesbo, among others, have been used to refer to any women who aren't considered feminine enough, gender-conforming enough, or merely disobedient to the wishes of men. When Rebecca Wright was killed in 1988 while camping and hiking with her partner, her murderer knew what lesbian meant. When Roxanne Ellis and Michelle Adbell were murdered in 1995 by a man who said he had no compassion for bisexual or homosexual people, he knew what lesbian meant. When a 28-year-old lesbian in 2008 was kidnapped and gang-raped by 4 men who made homophobic remarks during the attack, they knew what lesbian meant. It is only in the face of modern gender activism that lesbian seems to have lost all meaning. Instead of being a word to describe the reality of women attracted only to women, it has become a term to denote specialness, as if it is no more meaningful than calling oneself goth after putting on a black t-shirt.
Not only is the lesbian label both accurate and affirming for me to use as a non-binary person, but being open about it is extremely effective at filtering out the kinds of people that I have no interest in dating. You are partially right in the sense that there is a lot of transphobia in the lesbian community, but that aside, I know for a fact that there are lesbians who are attracted to me and lesbians who will accept me in their circles. Don't make the mistake of assuming everyone else is just as bigoted as you are.
Women who are attracted to men now claim the identity and play with the term, like trying on new clothes. They argue at new definitions, distort the word until it can include anyone, though most notably centers around femininity.
Hello, apparently I have to make this video because y'all can't read. The person I'm hooking up with is non-binary. Their pronouns are they, them. I'm still a lesbian. Lesbians can date non-binary people. Don't know what to tell you.
Queer is a much more palatable term. It means flirty. It means dabbling in sexuality with women, but keeping the door open for men. Lesbian, in turn, is a hard no. It means that there are no exceptions, that these women are not for male consumption, and in a world that caters to male desire, there are no women hated more than those who have no use for the male sex. This concept is not new. Rita Mae Brown wrote about this in The Celluloid Closet. They really fear lesbians, because in some strange level, let us never forget the ever-expanding gaseous state of the male ego, which is men still believe that women do everything in response to them. Therefore, for a lot of guys, a woman's a lesbian because she hasn't had him. He will change this dolorous experience, and she will of course love men because of him. The truth is, women aren't lesbians because of men. Women are lesbians because of women. They love women. And that's what drives them crazy. They don't want to accept that central fact of lesbian life, which is that it has nothing whatsoever to do with men, and never will.
I really did not want to get involved in the genital preference discourse, but I've been noticing that the lived experience I have is one that's not being mentioned a lot in this conversation. So if y'all didn't know, I am a lesbian. And also, my wife is transgender. And a really weird assumption that people keep making is that they believe that I met my wife when she was still identifying as a man, and then she transitioned while we got together, and now we're this lovely, happy family, and I'm this wonderful partner for sticking by her. No, she was out as transgender when we met. Yes, I, a cisgender lesbian, went on a date with an openly transgender woman, fell in love, and we got married. If you're like me, then you were probably sent a lot of really confusing messaging about what it means to be a lesbian by pop culture and the media when you were growing up. I cannot tell you how many times I was gifted keychains or shirts or dumb stickers from places like Spencer's or Hot Topic that said things like vegetarian on them. Or how many stand-up comedians, including ones that are performing today, or punchlines in movies that said things like, oh my god, have you ever seen a dick? They're so gross. Have you ever seen balls? They're disgusting. And talking about how gross genitalia is, and that must be why these people are gay. So I understand that there is a lot of unlearning that has to be done. Because I'm gonna be real, when I was trying to figure shit out for myself, I did have sex with men, and I thought to myself that I couldn't possibly be gay because I wasn't completely repulsed by penis. For most of my life, I was under the impression that if I was a lesbian, that must mean that I have to find them gross. And since I didn't, I was like, guess I'm not gay. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. And I'll also be honest and say that it's only been in recent years that I've been able to feel comfortable using the label lesbian, because my experiences with the lesbian community has been that my sexuality has been invalidated because my wife is trans. Because the truth is, the lesbian community is filled with a lot of TERFs, and they like to hide under the mask of genital preference, when no, they're just fucking transphobic. Look at us. Look how gay this is. Look how beautifully wonderful this is. It is banana cakes to me that there are other lesbians who could look at a picture like that, or look at us as a couple and be like, oh, that's not really lesbianism. In what world? We talk all the time as a community about beauty standards and unlearning the things that we've been taught in compulsory heteronormativity. So why is it so hard for people to understand and accept that genital preferences is just an extension of that and needs to be unlearned?
Let me be clear. Lesbian refers to female homosexuality, exclusive attraction by females for females. In the past, it was true that the word was used far more loosely. That isn't justification for using it loosely now. Lesbian was previously used to refer to anything from a woman simply participating in conscious raising, a woman favoring female friendships, a woman deciding to remain celibate, or a bisexual woman turning to exclusive women dating. Everything but a lesbian, in short. The idea that one can become a lesbian instead of it being an intrinsic and unchangeable part of you plays a disservice to women of other sexualities and the choices that they make to remove men from their lives, and popularizes the idea that lesbians aren't women exclusively attracted to women. It creates loopholes where there are none, removes boundaries to allow men access to a category of women that is denied to them on principle. To maintain these boundaries, to say that lesbian means female homosexual, a woman who is same-sex attracted, is to be branded transphobic and bigoted on account of not being a public resource. While conservatives believe that women should be private resources, held first by the father and then the husband, liberals view women as a resource that should be publicly available to use by any who want her. This view can be seen reflected in the rise of political bisexuality, which positions bisexuality as the only morally
So the other
correct
day we were
sexuality.
discussing if transgender people should have to disclose if they've had bottom surgery or not, if they are involved in hookup culture, meaning they're not like having a serious relationship with anyone, they're just strictly being involved in hookups. Do you think trans women should have to disclose that to any man they come in contact with?
I mean, I think if, like, they're in hookup culture, then they don't really have to, because if a man is getting gratification from this woman, then he can't turn around and then say, oh, I didn't enjoy the time I had with you. You did, period. You were attracted to a female, and that's why you're attracted. If you're not attracted, then it's SA, etc. Like, people want to explode this debate into being. It's not if you are simply attracted to this person, ergo, a straight man sees a woman and wants to hook up with them. That's the end of the story.
But I would even argue that no one's really attracted to like quote unquote men or women. People are attracted to masculinity and
Or
femininity.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think in particular me, whether I've had surgery or not, I think I give off femininity, and that's a vibe that straight men are attracted to.
Maybe this debate is what I'm frustrated with, is because, like you just said, it's not like I just am attracted to a biological woman. I cannot wait to procreate with that woman. Like, it is simply because God or science or whatever you want to call it made us think that this thing is attractive. Why do you think furries exist? Why do you think there are so many subcultures of words that I can't really say, I guess, but you know what I'm talking about? Why are there so many like facets of that? So when it comes to femininity and masculinity, that's the end of the debate. You can't further this into, well, you need to disclose this and this and this. You can, as a courtesy, if you've been with them on the second night, sure, and things are getting serious and you see a relationship with them, even if you don't, and perhaps like you want to see this person more in general and not necessarily romantically, but if you want to have that trust, sure. But with that kind of culture, the only thing you have as trust is safety. And I think there is safety if you don't disclose that. I think there is safety if you just aren't physically abusive in any way, because you're not.
But I think what a point that people brought up yesterday was you never really know when something's going to lead into a relationship. So what happens if you're in a hookup with someone, you don't tell them you're trans, and then all of a sudden you meet up for a second hookup, a third hookup, and it continues, more time goes on, and you want to say something because it is becoming more serious, but you haven't said anything for so long, and you thought it was just going to be a one-time thing at first. And I think that's how these situations kind of develop. I don't think it's ever really black and white. Like a lot of things aren't in life. I think things just happen. I
didn't know you had a long lost brother. I didn't know you had a stepmom. These are all little things. Like your orientation is the same thing to me.
Yeah.
In fact, it is presented as the only sexuality, as gender-based attraction ignores that individuals are attracted to others based on a vector of their sex and places self-identified pronouns as being more important. Take, for example, the mantra, trans women are women. While incorrect, this statement further leads to the assertion that women exclusively attracted to other women should include trans women in their sexuality. The pressure builds as if the only reason that you're saying no is because they're trans, then you're transphobic. Of course, this is all built on a faulty premise, as trans women are men who identified as trans and are still male. They cannot be lesbians, and lesbians cannot be attracted to them. Women who date and are attracted to trans women are not lesbians.
Hey gang, in honor of it being Pride Month, I think there's something we need to talk about, and that is basing your entire sexuality off of genital disgust. Too many times have I heard people say, well, I'm a gay man because I don't like women's parts, or I'm a lesbian because I don't like guys' parts, or quite literally people saying, well, I don't know if I'm this sexuality because I don't like these genitals. It's okay to shush. It has been said time and time again that these statements are blatantly transphobic. What your preference is, I don't care. However, these statements are transphobic. There's no denying that. And like, yes, cishet people do this too. I'm not saying they don't. However, it hurts so much more coming from your own community, knowing that they do not see you for who you truly are. They see you for what's in your pants.
The framing of lesbianism as an exotic identifier, as an adjective with voluntary meaning, is tiring. It's female homosexuality, not an exclusive club. It's not a choice you can opt into. It is not a badge you can wear. It's not a phase. You don't get to call yourself one when you're tired of your boyfriend or want to seem cool at the bar. Being a lesbian is not a fun experience where we are somehow free from men. They badger us at every turn, call us bigoted, oppress us, rape us, pressure us, pornify us. It's hard enough to exist as a woman in a misogynistic world. It's harder still to be a woman who only likes women in that world. Lesbian is a sexual orientation with a set definition, and the slow erasure of that rigid definition has decimated us. Gone are the days where women could go to a lesbian bar to find other women. Gone are the days of clubs and newspapers and meetings. There are only a few lesbian bars left in the US. Any meeting space we try to create is immediately co-opted by men hoping to pressure homosexual women into giving in, lest they be branded bigots for it, and women using the word to feel special, despite still being attracted to men. People like this have ruined the community before lesbians of my generation were ever able to find it. All because some have decided they don't know what lesbian means. This, dear viewers, is where we part. This honestly could be part of like a little mini-series called Things That Really Piss Me Off. The last one was the one on racism, which, for obvious reasons. This one is another one, because in all the little interviews that I've done with other lesbians and other, activists, it's a common theme of there is nowhere for us to talk to each other. There's nowhere for us to go. There's no way to form a community when all the community is co-opted. I mean, hell, you go on a dating app and you try to find lesbians, and you should get our girls who think that lesbianism is a cottagecore aesthetic where you hold hands and have tea parties, women who want to have a threesome with their boyfriends, or people who aren't even women claiming to be lesbians. And it is so, so frustrating because I'm 21 now. I thought that when I got to this point, I'd be able to have, a friend circle of people like me. When I was growing up, my mom said that, I was never really going to fit in with my family because of my sexuality, but I'd find a group of gay people who would take me in and we'd form family. She assumed there'd be this kind of community that there isn't, and I never got to have that kind of thing the older lesbians did get to have. I mean, yes, we have different battles we're facing, but by God, it's lonely fighting this one. When you can't even actually trust when people say that they are a lesbian because half the time they're thinking of femininity lover instead of women who are exclusively attracted to women. It's one of the most frustrating things about this postmodernist society where we just decided that words don't need to have definitions, that they can mean whatever we want them to mean when we want them to mean them. Anyhow, like, comment, subscribe, etc. I have Buy Me a Coffee, I have Patreon, which you can vote on different video topics, get your name at the end of the video, which I'll admit I'm still getting used to doing this, so I do forget sometimes.